Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about the death of the 6-point grate. After a little vacation with my wife, I decided to dust the old tools off and get to figuring out what happened to the engine at Truck Mania. So the first thing we wanted to discover is what happened during the drag race. What was that thunk that ultimately started milkshaking everything? So we started just tearing down the top end. Obviously valve cover came off and there was quite a nice little Hershey's milkshake in the top for me. Did not taste good though, wouldn't recommend it. 9 out of 10 don't. Then we took the rocker box off, and upon taking the rocker box off, I found a freeze plug just floating around in the cylinder head area there. Upon further looking around, there was a freeze plug missing out of the head. So that thud or the pop that I heard going down the track, I do believe was the freeze plug essentially just popping out and hitting the top of the valve cover, which ultimately led to the coolant going everywhere. Then we were like, okay, did something pressurize the cooling system to make that freeze plug pop out? Because we did have a coolant bypass on it. Like, where did that extra pressure come from? So we took the cylinder head off. We pulled the injectors out. We had no metal transfer on the injectors, which is always a good sign. That means the pistons did not melt, because this engine did get hot quite a few times. And we looked, all the pistons looked okay. I was like, all right, looking over the head gasket. Head gasket didn't have any blowout marks. The head studs didn't have the rust stains that are very common when you have a head gasket failure from the coolant staining them. And it took us about 2 minutes until we started barring the engine over and realized that none of the pistons were poking up above the block surface. So at that moment, I knew that I had probably shortened some rods. So we went ahead, next day came back at it, disconnected the transmission, got all the wiring off, and pulled the engine out. Had it on the stand, started taking it apart. Got the oil pan off. As soon as I pulled the oil pan off, I found a little treasure. It's this. Now this is part of the one-piece main bearing. This is the thrust bearing. Obviously, this is the side that took the abuse. And this is what it attaches to. It broke off. This was in the pan, so I already knew we were in for a treat. I wasn't too disappointed though. They were P bearings, which is Molly's OEM replacement style bearings. So these weren't even like a performance bearing. So we were moving right along. We started knocking the pistons out with the rods, obviously, and we got this gem. This was cylinder number 4's rod. As you can see, it has a very nice S shape to it. For a nice little comparison, here's the one that we pulled out of 6. They were all bent. 4 is definitely the worst, as you can tell in this hopefully still shot here. But we were like, oh, great. So we knew we had bent some rods, which corresponds nicely here with these pistons. This one is number 4, this one's number 2. As you can see, the scuffing isn't very uniform. Usually when you have like a piston swell power scuff, so to speak, it'll be very uniform across the skirt. This one is definitely cheated off to this side, and we even caught the wrist pin bosses, as you can see right here. Scuffed that. First time I've done that. And it also got so hot, it heat soaked into the inside of the piston skirt, which was another new thing that I had never seen before. But what I was happy about was the rings were all free, which tells me none of the rings butted, which is a good sign. It means some of the measurements and guesses, or I guess educated guesses I made when I built this were kind of close. Now, as far as bearings go, the only bearing we had that was really bad, this was the main bearing, upper main bearing for journal number 2. It got a little hot. It did not spin. I guarantee you though, if I probably would have tried any more shenanigans, this one probably would have spun on us. Luckily for me, the crank is 100% salvageable. All I have to do is get a polish, which is something that you would do if you were going to do a new engine anyway. And this one is kind of a average of what all the rest of them look like. Clearly getting into the copper, definitely doing some high RPM here. But again, these are just the P bearings. These would be like an OEM style replacement bearing. And what I really, really liked that we saw upon teardown is normally when a engine milkshakes like this and you continue to run it, you get a lot of moisture buildup in the oil. That transmits into the bearings, and then the bearings start to get really pitted. These bearings weren't bad, considering how much runtime we had on them, and I really do attribute it to our engine oil. One of the main reasons why I run it is it's so sticky. I just feel like there's such a good oil film on these bearings. There's nowhere for the water to adhere to the bearing, which made me feel really good. And with this bearing that got hot, I am wondering if perhaps during the sled pull when we decided to drain the coolant out and change the oil, if that's what got this bearing hot. When you run an engine like that dry, that's not a solid block, and you're relying on the heat to get soaked into the engine oil, I'm wondering if that's what caused this failure. Either that or a lot of the high RPM shifts. With these rods, this is my favorite. This is now going to go on my desk, I think. But with these rods, what we think has been happening over time is as we continue to up the power and up the power, they just started to bend more and more and more, which it's kind of a positive about a 12-valve rod and kind of a negative too, because on a common rail rod, this rod would have broke. Hands down, guaranteed, this rod would be in probably 2 to 3 pieces. On a 12-valve rod, they tend to bend long before they break, which was one of the big things when I built this engine. I didn't have a lot of money to sink into rods, so this is what I came up with. These are actually shot peened and polished by Hazley, and they do have Hazley's rod bolts in them. And what we think happened is, if you look at the drag race footage, right, it comes out of the hole really lazy, but as soon as it starts to get a little heat in that engine, you can hear it just take off. And you can almost feel it like in the driver's seat, like the engine just kind of come to life. Now, some of that is the ridiculously large single turbo we had on there, but it definitely kind of was lazy out of the hole, even for that turbo setup that we had. And then even on the dyno, you can kind of hear it sort of struggle to kind of come to life. And then I noticed through EGTs right around that 1,000, 1,200 mark, all of a sudden it was like the engine just woke up and flew through the dyno. And some of that was probably due to the scuffing. Once everything started to get hot, it started to take off. And then a lot of that is with the rods being bent like this, the compression, the static compression is lower. So with the RPM that engine was turning, with the turbo configuration, which is a 488 96 T6 single turbo, that one tends to not make a lot of power down low, obviously due to the ginormous turbine. So with all those things into a factor, the truck's not even wanting to make power due to turbo, the compression's lower. So what we decided is that's why all of a sudden it just kind of roars to life when that dynamic compression starts to take hold and power through what we now know as bent rods. So some key points that I learned on this engine build that I was really happy to learn at a lower price point of this is, number one, I would not be scared to run a 20/6.7 wet block. I do think that they are kind of underrated, and I think your tuning goes a long way. I would definitely do a single turbo on a 6.7, it definitely kept everything alive a lot longer because the torque wasn't as high down low. I don't know if I would ever put 12 valve rods back in a 6.7 engine for this power level. I do think that if I could do it again, I would put some form of billet rod, whether it be Acrylo, Wagler. I think Apex makes some, and D&J. I would spend the money. If I was doing a lower horsepower build, more what this was designed for, which was originally 750 horsepower tow rig, I think I would try them again. So where does this leave us? Well, I do have to do a rebuild. That is very clear. We found some weak points, and I did learn a lot. The first thing I can really take away from this is that our piston wall and our ring gaps, I think, were set up perfectly for the power level, even past what I had built it for. And I learned that 12 valve rods were probably not the best bet for 1300 horsepower. That being said, though, if I'm going to do it again, which I fully intend to because I love dumping money into things that make no sense financially, I'm going to go with billet rods. I think I will reuse the crank as long as it polishes up fine. I am going to upgrade bearings because the new build we're hoping to hit like 1600 horsepower and still be driven on the street. That's a big thing for me. I do not want to lose the competition, or I don't want to lose the street ability rather, but still be able to throw down in the competition. And we do have some big things scheduled for next year. So we're going to do billet rods. That'll be the first one. The second one, I am going to switch up from the ISB, which is the re-entrant bowl style, to a QSB, which is the one that has a very small crown and it's non-re-entrant. We are going to upgrade the hardware. The main caps, definitely we're walking around. It's very evident in the bearing wear that they had been rattling around a little bit, which is to be expected at the power level and the RPM we were at. This engine was originally intended for a 750 horsepower daily driven tow truck to tow my race truck around. And as you guys have seen throughout the year, it has progressed into much more of a competition truck than a tow truck. But that being said, billet rods, upgraded bearings. We're going to do 14 mil mains. Kind of undecided on a girdle at this point. And as far as that block goes, I really am tempted to take it down in the machine shop and just see if they could hone it out. It'd be a great backup block. And I think it really proved that a 20/6.7 block, although it kind of has a bad reputation for splitting and cracking, we looked at pretty thoroughly last night. We did not find a single crack or stress fracture, anything in that block. So that 20/6.7 block is pretty inherently strong. I was very impressed with it. And I'm going to try and see if I can save the block because that was the only thing. There's a couple of scuffs. As you guys see, we did try to 3-stone hone them just to see how much was piston transfer and how much was actual scoring of the bore. And I'm actually pretty confident 2 or 3 thousandths hone might clean that all up. And it'll be a great spare. Other than that, it was a great run for the 6-point great. I don't know what we're going to do next. And yeah, thank you guys for subscribing to the channel, following along, watching, commenting, liking the videos. I really appreciate it. It kind of keeps me going even after a failure like this. You know, you just got to dust yourself off and get back into it. For a tip, I guess, I don't want to scare people away from 12 valve shot peen rods. Big thing, 6.7s make way more torque than 5.9s. Another thing, common rails, although I'll probably catch some flack for this in the comments section, common rails do make a lot more bottom end torque than the old mechanical style engines due to the dynamic timing. So if you have a 12 valve or a VP44 24 valve or a P-pump 24 valve, I really do think these rods hold a lot of value. If you have a 5.9 common rail, I still wouldn't hesitate to run these because the bore is smaller on a 5.9. They're just not as torquey as a 6.7. And I would honestly put these back in a 6.7. I just don't think I would push them past about 800 horsepower. Do not quote me on that. This is just kind of my educated guess. But yeah, appreciate all the love you guys have been showing us on the YouTube. It really does mean a lot to me and the rest of the team. So thank you. Hope you enjoyed this one.